Breaking news, we have full details about the DJI Mavic 4 Pro, the Z5 Mark II from Nikon, the Canon RV, and some information about the upcoming Canon R6 Mark III. I'll tell you all about it and more, but first I want to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. I have the website northrupphotography.com. I've had it for about 11 years now, hosted with Squarespace the entire time. They have been bulletproof, but having my own website has been so valuable because I can get emails at northrupphotography.com, not gmail.com or hotmail.com. If Gmail started charging a bunch in the future and I wanted to switch to a different mail provider, I'd have to go contact everyone I knew and give them a new address, and they would no doubt forget, and thus you're kind of stuck with this one provider, right? When you have your own domain, you can point that at Gmail or Yahoo or whatever mail service you're using. The same applies for your own website. When you have your own website, you're not reliant on social media, which could suddenly become terrible and start promoting your competitors, which it actually does now. That's why having your own website for your portfolio, your video reel, your business, any personal project is so important. I think I have 3 and Chelsea has a couple. Start at squarespace.com/Tony and get a completely free trial. You'll just see how easy it is. You don't have to be a nerd. You can make a beautiful website with just a few clicks. When you love it, after your free trial, the coupon code Tony gets you 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace. Up first, let's talk about the DJI Mavic 4 Pro coming to us from dronexl.com. Here are the full details, which we didn't have before. It has 3 lenses, 28mm full frame equivalent, 70mm and 168mm. It does 6K video, and they don't say, but I'm guessing that's 6K at 60 frames per second. The big feature is that the gimbal now, the camera, can rotate 360 degrees, which, well, of course, the drone itself is turning around backwards, but it can look directly up and directly down, so now you can film anything. And in fact, you could use this to take true spherical photos. No more slapping on an ND filter. With my Mavic 3 Pro, it's a real pain to use ND filters because I want to get the shutter speed right or I want to do a long exposure. Well, first I have to know what the exposure is going to be, and to do that I really have to go in the air and look at my subject, right? The Mavic 4 Pro solves that with an electronic ND filter. Now you'll be able to control the shutter speed separately from the aperture, so if you're shooting in bright light and you want a slow shutter speed, you can do that. The flight time is a crazy 52 minutes. Though I will say DJI always kind of overestimates their time. That's like a theoretical time, and it tends to start flying back with about 30% of the battery left, and you're starting to lose power. So, but you can probably definitely get 35 or 40 minutes out of it. Anyway, the battery life is going to be better, and that's really useful when you need to wait for a sunrise or a sunset. Sometimes I have it up in the air for as long as possible because I'm waiting for some birds to fly through to make a beautiful landscape photo. It will charge to full power in about 90 minutes, and it comes with a 240 watt charger, that's a big number. That's a lot of watts. They're updating the controller too. Right now I use the RC Pro, so I don't have to hook my phone into the thing. It's a better screen. It has better range. They're updating it to the RC Pro 2 controller, which will have a 7-inch tilting screen. So I'm really excited for this. I'm not so excited for the pricing, which is outrageous. It's as much as like a full frame camera. The Mavic 4 Pro with the RC2 controller is priced at $2,250. Whoa. I mean, honestly, that's a professional grade camera and lens. If you get the Fly More combo, you're looking at $3,200. That usually includes a couple of batteries and some extra accessories like filters. And if you get the 512 gigabyte creator combo, probably has internal storage, $4,400. Wow. Okay, so the prices are a lot. But this is a tool that I use all the time for my professional work and for my personal work too. So I'm going to invest in it. It's launching on April 24th, 2025, and subscribe to see our full review of that coming as soon as we can get it. Now, let's talk about the Nikon Z5 Mark II via NikonRumors.com. The original Z5 is a low-end full-frame camera, priced at about $1,000. You can get them used now for about $550. And that makes for a great price point and a camera that I'd like to recommend a lot because I like to get people into full-frame instead of APS-C. But if they don't have the budget, well, I need an inexpensive full-frame camera to recommend. We tested the original Z5 against the Canon RP, Canon's low-end full-frame camera, and the Z5 had some advantages, like it had 2 memory card slots, but overall we found that Canon RP performed better, especially with autofocus. Well, Nikon is taking on their low-end camera and improving it, so it'll fare better against the competition. Nikon Rumors is saying it's basically going to be a mini Nikon Z6 Mark III, but that the price is going to go up. It's not going to be $1,000 anymore, and it's going to be announced next week. Here are some specs that I think it's going to be a full-frame 24 megapixel camera with sensor stabilization, inheriting those features from the existing Z5. I think the price point is going to be about $1,500. That prices it significantly cheaper than the Nikon Z6 series, and because it's going to be cheaper, they're going to have to pare down some features, so you still want to get the Nikon Z6, right? I think it's still going to have 2 SD card slots, which is an advantage compared to like the Canon competitors at this price point. I think it'll have a flip forward screen and the same 3.6 million dot electronic viewfinder. They'll definitely improve the autofocus, probably with a bigger processor, but definitely with better algorithms. But I think they're going to limit the frames per second to 8 to 10 frames per second. So if you are a sports shooter, I think they'll want to push you up to the Nikon Z6 series of cameras. I think it'll do 4K 30 video full width, or if you want to do 4K 60, it'll have a crop, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did give us full width 4K 60. Now let's talk about the Canon R6 Mark III via CanonRumors.com. Now the R6 series is Canon's mid-level full-frame camera, one that's optimized for basically everything except high resolution. So it's excellent at portraits and sports, but you wouldn't necessarily pick it for landscapes or wildlife, though it does okay at those things. We're expecting this to launch in May of this year. It'll have a 24 megapixel sensor stacked this time. So it's going to perform really fast, sort of like the R3. And in fact, it'll do 30 frames per second. And well, because it can read out the entire sensor at 30 frames per second, that means it can do 6K at 30 frames per second. I suspect it'll also do 4K at 60 frames per second. It'll have improved autofocus like the R5 Mark II, which is dual pixel 2 autofocus. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it outperforms the R5 Mark II since the sensor has fewer megapixels with the same capabilities. That means it should be able to process it twice as fast, right? For video, it'll do Cinema 4K at 120 frames per second. Cinema 4K just means a little wider than the 16:9 that you're watching now, but that will have a 1.5 times crop, which they like to call Super 35, but it's just like an APS-C crop. It'll have a tilt and flip screen. It's Canon's answer to all the people who hate the flippy screen, want just a tilty screen. Now they're providing both, but they add a little bit of extra bulk. I don't mind it. It's all fine by me either way. And some people are saying it might be OLED, which would be a higher quality screen, just a brighter, crisper screen. OLED is what the higher end smartphones have, and cameras should definitely have this because we definitely need to be able to see that screen well in sunlight, and I've been begging for OLED for a while. And Canon Rumors is saying a difference from the R6 Mark II is that it will have a CF Express Type B card paired with an SD card for backup, whereas the existing R6 series just has 2 SD cards. So this makes a lot of sense to me. They need a CF Express Type B card to really unload that fast 6K footage. And also from Canon and Canon Rumors, we have details of the leaked Canon R50 V, and that V stands for video. This is what it looks like via mirrorlessrumors.com. It'll come in white and black, and you can see it has a tripod mount on the side for those of us doing vertical video. It's basically a mini R50 optimized for video. So no viewfinder anymore, and a little bit smaller than the existing R50 that we really liked. The R50 will be the stills hybrid camera, and the R50 V will be the video optimized hybrid camera, still capable of shooting stills. 24 megapixel sensor with an APS-C crop. So a smaller sensor optimized for APS-C lenses, but it's Canon's 1.6 times, which is a little bit smaller sensor than the Sony and Nikon that have the 1.5 times crop. It will not have sensor stabilization, and it will have a 3-inch flippy screen. Now, some of the new features are clearly copied directly from the specs list, and we don't have a lot of background information about what they mean. Like Canon Rumors is saying it will have movie auto slow shutter. My guess is this is for creators who want what we call a 180-degree shutter, where if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, it'll capture it at 1/60th of a second. This gives the video a little bit of a film look, but managing your shutter speed can be a bit of a pain, so the R50 V will do that for beginning filmmakers automatically. It'll have slow fast movie recording, which I think just means time lapses and slow motion. It'll have a movie IS mode. It's not sensor stabilization, so it's probably just electronic stabilization. And they're saying it'll have better video quality in some situations, which probably means more noise reduction in low light conditions. It'll do HDR video, which has become standard in cameras, and it'll have log view assist, which means if you're using the Canon C log to get extra dynamic range, I think it'll probably just make it easier to view your final results on the screen. They're offering auto exposure for priority subjects and the ability to register people for autofocus. And I don't get the appeal of this. My interpretation of this is that you'll be able to choose the faces of a bride and groom in a wedding video. And if there are multiple people on the frame, it will always lock onto the bride or groom's face. I don't like that because I don't want the camera to make that decision for me. Like in the moment, it might be better to focus on the flower girl who's in the foreground and not the bride who's in the background. And this seems like a waste of energy to implement this, because if you did want to select a face, you could always just touch the face on the screen. There's lots of ways to choose what you're focusing on, so I don't need the camera to be recognizing people. It'll have better Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which helps to support Canon's Live Switcher Mobile, which is, they're trying to put together a system where you could do multicam live streaming with Canon cameras. It's cool for live streaming that's better than like TikTok, where you're looking for multicam stuff. The body's supposed to be $650, or if you get it with the RFS 15-30 lens, it should be $850. That 15-30 lens is going to be like 22 or 23 millimeters to like 45 millimeters, sort of the perfect focal length for creators like myself. We expect the camera to be announced in the next 24 hours and shipping in April 2025. They're also launching a 20mm f1.4 lens, a big, fast, super wide prime that is really perfect for astrophotography. I don't really use a 20mm prime for much more than astrophotography, but it'd be perfect for stars or the aurora borealis, and that'll be priced at $1,700. That's an L lens, so a professional grade lens. That's your news for the day. In the comments down below, let me know what you think, and don't forget to check out our sponsor Squarespace for a website. If you don't have your own website, your own domain name, you need one right away, because you're probably relying on social media and free email services. You're going to regret that in the future. Social media, free email, those things are inherently unstable because they're free. These companies need to make money, and that means they can suddenly change the service on you. If you want something stable, reliable, that you can rely on for decades, like I have, you're going to have to pay a little bit. Not much, but I promise it's totally worth it. Get your free trial, see if you love it, at squarespace.com/Tony. No credit card required, no tricks here. We just want you to find your own presence on the web that doesn't rely on unreliable free services. Squarespace.com/Tony lets you pick your own template, customize it so it's perfect for what you're doing, and after you love it, which I promise you will, the coupon code Tony will get you 10% off. Thanks for sponsoring us for more than a decade, Squarespace. Bye.